There's no comparison and no doubt on how much work our frontline workers have been doing during this pandemic. And on top of that, some people have been voluntarily helping during the time. So, episode number 9 is all about the experience of one of the volunteers during the first wave of COVID 19. So, let's not waste more time and start this conversation with Hansika P. Mohanta, a social worker who volunteered as a frontline worker during the first wave of COVID 19 pandemic in Assam, India. Hi Hanshika, thank you so much for doing this episode with me today. It's an honor to have a volunteer with me, and to be honest, I'm really excited to know how things were for you during the first pandemic when you were working as a volunteer, as a frontline worker for Assam government. So, thank you so much for doing this episode.
Thank you so much, Samar, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Hansika P. Mahanta. I am a full-time social worker, and I have been into this profession of social work from the past almost 5 years now. Very recently, I did some volunteering work. I served as a frontline COVID warrior for the Assam government. Currently, I'm pursuing my master's in social work, and my specialization is in counseling, and I'm doing it from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Guwahati.
Okay, Hanshika, thank you so much for that introduction. So, I'll just begin and straightforward, I'll begin with the first question. Why did you get into this volunteer work? Well, if it like it's going to be two parts. The first part will be at first when you started, 5 years, 6 years back when you started volunteering. What was the thought process you had? And the second thing, why COVID-19 was a thing? Like being the frontline worker during the first phase of COVID-19, why did you do that? So,
Okay, first, I would like to start with why did I join social work? My first motivation, or the inspiration to get into social work was from my class 12. I did some project. It went nice. My teacher started, praising me, and then I thought, oops, I should be getting into the social work because, anyways, I was interested. Then I got into this. I was like a very restless person. I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to intern. I wanted to work. I was studying social work. Theoretically, it was fine. But the moment I get to do practical, and moment I get to be on the field, I'm like, oh, I forget everything. So this has been like a continuous process for me. I'm like, continuously, I want to just work and learn. There was times, I used to work for 3 organizations all together. I used to intern for some, I used to volunteer for some. It'll be like Monday to Thursday, I'm working with another organization. Friday, I'm working with another organization. Saturday, Sunday, I'm working with another organization. Because it's like, I'm like, time khatam ho raha hai, sabke saath kaam karke dekhna hai, sab dekhna hai. I was like, I don't know why am I in such a hurry. Then, of course, the COVID thing came in. I had to be indoors, like all lockdown, sub online. I was like, yeah, iske liye thodi padha tha social work. I was like, I don't want to work online, but still, before going for COVID volunteering, I was doing online internships and all. I was like, this is not making me suffice my goal, why was I into social work? And then one fine day I was watching TV. I was so frustrated watching TV, nothing to watch, watching some serial, I guess. And then I get a text on my cell phone from my college that Assam government is looking for volunteers. I was like, it didn't take me 2 minutes also to complete reading the message. I filled up my name and I was like, dekha bhi nahi kya kaam karna hai. And I was like, I'll go for this.
okay.
And then after signing and all, I told my parents, I signed and I'm leaving tomorrow morning. They're like, oh my God, what are you doing? I was like, yeah, tomorrow we have the training and uske baad they'll tell us where to work. We went for the training. Around 40 people came for the training. Like all social workers from different institutions, they came. Everybody was explaining us ki aise hoga, ye hoga, you have to do this, you have to do that, your work will be this and all. After the training session got over, I was coming back home. I was all prepared ki I'm going for work. आते आते I could see people were exiting from the WhatsApp group. सभी लोग भाग रहे थे. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Nobody's willing to work. But I was like, मैं तो जाऊंगी. घर आया, packing किया. And then I was constantly nagging the additional district commissioner of our Kamrup district. I was like, ma'am, I want to work. Assign me some work. And she also got very pissed with me, and there were two more girls. फिर हम तीनों, जिस दिन हम लोग को घर से निकलना था, हम लोग सब पैकिंग करके तीनों रुके हैं कि गाड़ी आएगा हम लोग को पिकअप करने. गाड़ी तो आया नहीं. We all went to the DC office together. We were like, DC office जाएंगे luggage के साथ. We are like, ma'am, now we have come for work. रख लो काम पे. Then she sent us, and then that is how all this work started. Initially, the first day of my COVID volunteering work was like aya chakkar. क्योंकि घर में when I was, I could see people dying, people having this, that. डर के मारे, it was all this situation. But when I was on the field, before I was on the field, I was like, COVID duty करेंगे, yay! But जैसे ही I could see the patients, I could see people coming for random swab tests and all that. I could see the media coming in, so many people in PPE kits and all that. इतने सारे लोग. Oh, I went nuts. That was my first day. I was like, कोने में ऐसे, I was like sitting, and I was like, oh my God, घर वापस जाना है. It got fine by the evening, and then from the next day I was like, सुबह 5 बजे 6 बजे जितना भी जल्दी जागना है, I'll be ready, and I'm like, I'm all working. And it was like I volunteered for almost 2 months, but it's so sad to say, that I have been into this work, into social work for almost 5 years now. But my parents, my family, they hardly, they support me, but they support me for just a little bit of a time, and then they start pulling me back. So those volunteering work for almost 2 months, I was like, there was not even a single day when I did not fight with my family to stay outside and work. We were in the same city. They could not see me. I cannot see them. It's like a video call and a phone call. And phone call pe ek hi baat. It's not like, are you fine? Are you eating well? Are you doing well? No. They're like, ghar wapas aaja. It's like, come back. This was like a constant fighting for 2 months, almost 2 months. And then suddenly I was like, I'm going home. I'm tired of fighting every moment. I'm like, super phone call to fight. Jab bhi I'll pick up the phone, it's like everybody around me, they'll know ki, oh, she's going to fight with her parents now to work. So this is how my whole journey is, like a small, a small paragraph or small like a story kind of a thing I explained.
I can understand why your parents were nagging you, because obviously they were also scared, and they had the right to scared, and I can understand where they were coming from. But yeah, there's this mentality that you would also be having, like since the 5 years you have been doing this volunteering work, they should have that understanding. Yes, you are so passionate about it. You are so into this work that you have chosen that field of study for the rest of your life, and you will be doing these things. So there's that gap. I believe that will also take some time to close off. But how did it all come about to you? Wasn't it scary? Because as I have seen you, as everybody can actually listen to you or see you right now, you are being so it's like there's a positive vibe around you, to be honest. But seeing the situation when it comes to COVID, it's very serious. It's very anxious. People get very anxious and scared when it comes to COVID, because it's something that they don't understand totally. It's not a flu, it's not fever, it's nothing. It's a mix up of so many things. And people die, people survive, people get something, people don't get something. They're asymptomatic, symptomatic, they all get scared. But how did it affect you as a human being after those 2-3 months? That is something that I would really like to know, because as you can see right now, the second phase is going. It's so harsh, it's so difficult for so many people. People staying at home are the third or the fourth category that I will bring in, because the first category are the people who are on the line right now. The doctors, the nurses, the people who they are losing families, people are actually working out there, and crematorials, anything that is there, those people, the first people, and they are so scared and tired, and everything is going on. I believe you would have had the something related to that, so I would really like to know how you tackle with that.
Of course it's scary, because the first day I went for the training, we were told one thing repeatedly. It's like the enemy is unknown. But my only thing was that, since I was a kid, I always envied the army people, anything related to the army people, because my dad belonged to that school, an army school. He's not into army, but I'm always fascinated. But I never got the chance, or I also never spoke up to my parents, I want to get into a defense line or something. But as in when I grew up, my parents again wanted me to, some point of time, they were like, "Beti, doctor banegi." I was like, this all I cannot. I'm scared of blood. I'm scared of injections. But again, somewhere, I get to, my grandpa was a maternal grandpa. He was a great doctor. My grandma keeps on saying, grandpa would have been so happy if he would have seen you like this. These all things get inside my head. And then when I was doing the work, it was like, maybe I could not join the army or the defense line, or maybe I could not be a medical worker. But being a social worker, being into the social work sector, the COVID has, the situation has brought me some opportunities to fulfill my inner desires, to serve for my country, maybe not for my nation, but at least for a little bit of it I've served. Maybe like chotu sa difference I could make for my society by, contributing my presence, like physically, into the lot of, the frontline workers who have been serving for months, and it's almost more than a year now, like all the COVID scene has been happening. This is how, when I was working, I never felt scared. Before joining the work, when I was at home, I used to feel scared ki, oh, corona ho jayega. But after I got into the work, these things never came into my head. Whenever I used to see a person, we were told ki, har ek insaan ko positive patients के हिसाब से पकड़ के चलो, so that you also maintain the distance and the safety and all that. I was like, that never came to my head only. Everybody was like, I'm not COVID positive. I was treating everybody like, ये सब normal ही है. There were many instances where, I was told not to touch the person, not to touch this, not to do that, don't go near, don't talk to this, don't do this. I was doing the opposite only, because I was like, I wanted to, be like the patients, also be like the lab technicians, also be everywhere, because I wanted to build up the environment wherever I am. Like I wanted to add on to this to the helping sector in every manner that I could, and that is why didn't feel the fear, didn't feel scared. I was only into work only, that's it.
Okay, that is, I guess you had that positivity inside you, that passion that we were talking about earlier, that you want to help. You also told right now that you wanted to get into the army, at least in a way to help out your nation or the society, if you take the, small lot. So it's great to see, there are so many people who would be like you, to be honest, who are so ready to help people around, as in volunteering, as in any way that they can. And it's hats off, to be honest, and thank you so much for doing what you did during the first phase. It has been I believe there would be a lot of instances that we can talk about, but would you be able to give us a few instances which were whatever it is, any instance that you could help the listeners to understand the scenario that was there in the first phase?
In the second wave, I don't know what's happening on field, because I'm still at home and I'm actually waiting, for a call to come, and I'm like, I'm going back to work. But from the first phase, I would like to share one instance. It's like I feel proud of myself actually. For somewhere, I don't know who they are. I don't know who those people are. Where do they come from? After the work got over, I lost touch with those people. There was one day I was working. We used to be assigned COVID screening centers. Like our team I was a part of the state surveillance team. So we used to be assigned COVID screening centers every day. We used to go to different locations for each day. We'll be handling one center. So I was handling the Chanmari center. There I was, and then everybody, my nickname is Hia actually. So everybody calls me by my Hansika, which is my official name. Everybody calls me by that name, except for my parents. When they call me over the phone, only I get to hear that name, and all the other days I don't get to hear my name only. So there was some worker out there her name was Hia, and somebody that she knew came to the center, and then coincidentally, she was absent on that particular day and I was inside. And I think I was writing some report or calling up somebody. I don't exactly know what was I doing. And those people, they came and then they were calling out her name. And I somewhere felt, oh my God, they're calling me. Finally, I get to hear my name. I came running out of the center. And I was like, yeah, you guys called me. And they looked confused and they were like, we didn't call you. I was like, oh, okay. I got a disappointment, like, my name is also here. You are not calling me. Then they went to do the checkup and all. I mean, they got their tests done. I was inside. But while they were leaving the center, they actually looked for me. And somebody came and called me and said, the patients, somebody came and they want to see you. I again went to them and I was like, yeah, you needed some help. I thought there was some problem. And then they told me, they were just asking like a random questions, where do you stay and all that. It was a couple actually. The lady, she was pregnant. And I asked her which doctor is she seeing, which hospital is she going to. And coincidentally, the hospital she was visiting was just next to my apartment where my family stays. And I knew the doctor and all, and I was like, oh, very nice. You take this number, you take my number. You need any help for that, let me know. I was like very happy. Finally, I get to help them and they're calling me here. No, I was more happy because of that. And then they went back home. I forgot about them only. They didn't call me also. And then one fine day, I was at rest. I was not feeling well. I was back in the hotel. I was resting. Early morning, I get a call from the husband saying that his wife is not feeling well. If there's any way that I can help. I said, let me talk to the doctor that she's seeing. So I spoke to the doctor. The doctor said, without the COVID report, I won't see her. Her due date was like 2 days after it, when she was facing those difficulties. I panicked. I was like, everybody went for work. I was in the hotel. I could not do anything. I cannot even go to the field because it's lockdown. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Then I started calling people from the centers who can connect me with the people who provide with the report. So it was the GMCH people. I called them and I said that she's pregnant and all that. It was like a phone calls of 4-5 hours continuously trying to contact and all that. Finally, the husband could get the report. He could take her to the hospital. I spoke to the doctor that, that this is the report and all that. Before the report comes, please check her because the wife was already waiting in the hospital. Because the husband was panicking. I was doing everything over the phone call. So she got checked and all that. And then again, I forgot about them because there's too many people, no? And then I forgot. After 2 or 3 days, the delivery happened and a girl child was born, like perfect weight and all that, healthy baby. And then that day I was out of the Kamrup district. I went for some work again to the Sonapur side, Jagir Road side I went. And then my phone I didn't check my phone. Some unknown number was calling me. I came back to the hotel around 10 o'clock like that at night. And then I called. I was like, who must it be? So I was just inquiring. And it was the man. He said, he was so thankful. And he's like, oh my God, he was thanking me at such a great level. And I was like, my tears were rolling down. And I was like, oh my God. I so felt like, I was a doctor or somebody from the medical ground to get the news that, and he also mentioned that the moment he got to know the child was born, it was healthy. I was the first one to be called. And then I was like, shit, why did I miss the call? I was like, I still feel nice and I can recall that moment that I was the first one the husband called. And I feel like so lucky that, I got the opportunity to serve those people.
That is really nice to be like having such kinds of experiences is something that makes the memory brighten up because as it's COVID, there are so many negative news, but having the chance to have a baby, that's first for the family, and then you being a part of it, it feels like you are already there, you are already a part of their family, that chota sa family, and you are helping them out. Plus, it was just a name out of the blue which connected you guys and it helped you. It's nice to see how it would have brought such a big smile on your face, as you said that you had tears in your eyes and everything. It's nice to hear that story. But like during the situation, what mindset did you see of a lot of people as you were outside, right? This was the first phase that we are talking about. You were outside, as you told me before, that you used to go and get the patients to the quarantine center or let them know that they were positive, they had to take that space and everything. What situation did you see? What hustle bustle did you see actually on the ground level? What we are seeing today on TV, that is the situation, like something like that or something less than that was the situation that time, or was it something different altogether?
Uh, I would say that there was a lot of hustle bustle happening everywhere. First, I would like to start with the hustle bustle that the patients were creating or the normal citizens were creating. Everybody had, of course, there was like a taboo attached to the word COVID initially. I don't know now what's happening. I
Now
hope that people like little, no. Like the first time when I was there, it was like, oh my god, we go to pick up a patient, everybody's ready with their cell phones or cameras from their houses and trying to capture the patient. You're trying to put the patient inside the ambulances, everybody will be recording. We are like, there was a time, माइक का जरूरत पड़ता ही नहीं है, ऐसे चिल्ला रहे हम लोग, कहाँ लोगों को चिल्ला रहे, आई stop your cameras. Like there was one instance, like it brought tears to all of the workers where we were, in that particular moment. We went to pick up a child who was not even 2 years old. Everybody tested negative from the family. 2 kids tested positive. One kid was like around 7 to 8 years, I guess, and one was not even 2 years old. She cannot even walk without the having anybody's guidance and all. And then we were waiting outside the house. We didn't know the age of the child. I don't know how did we miss out on the age. And we knew it's a kid. And so we all were waiting with happy faces, singing and all, so that, the child feels a little comfortable. And then the father comes out with the child and says, she's positive. And that is when we all stay stunned and we are like, oh my God. And it was a small gully, so the ambulance could not come inside. And the moment we saw the child, we were like, forget the gully ka size, ambulance andar lao. Because all these people are going to create a havoc. I don't want the child to face anything. And then I got the ambulance inside, and of course people were screaming at us and all that. I was like, I just wanted, I literally, me and my another co-workers, we were going to each and every household and we were literally begging them to keep their cell phones inside, because the child was already so traumatized, but these people were just, busy making videos of the child getting inside the ambulance and all. Now when I see on the internet all these videos going viral, I feel so sad, and I'm like, the child goes through a hell lot of things, and on top of that, the camera. A child was not happy with us though. We were trying to dance and sing for the child. Of course, the elder one came along with her, but she was like making this face at us, and they're taking me to the hospital like that. And we were like, sorry, we were so sorry, we cannot even give you anything. Please get inside the ambulance. So there also everybody was, and people were more interested into not the work that we were doing, but they were interested in the, they were being nosy with our work, that you're picking up patients, but why aren't you wearing a PPE kit and picking up patients? And we were like, we go to different places in the city. Wearing the PPE kit is not feasible. It's not a compulsion, because we don't have to handle the patient all the time. We just have to pick them up. That's it. We don't even come in contact. In rare cases, we come in contact. But again, people are like making videos, look at these people, this is how they're working, see, nobody's paying attention, all that nosy things. I'm like, oh my God, at least, have some respect for the workers, that they're doing something, like forgetting their food, forgetting their life, forgetting everything and working just to make the whole system, move in a little systematic way. Another stigma that was happening was that positive होने के बाद patients भाग रहे थे. There were so many instances that we were running after the patient, if somebody comes and puts the name wrong, age wrong, address wrong, phone number wrong, somebody comes positive and we try to trace that patient everywhere. There was one incident, the patient was from Bhetapara, but he gave the address of Silpukuri. and we literally wasted like 4 or 5 hours of our day in locating the patient. Like 20 of us were there in Silpukuri, went to each and every household, each and every gully, and we were looking for that patient everywhere.
Understand, like people don't understand how risky it is for other people to get infected because of them. And plus, the biggest thing that they do is that they're ready to scrutinize. They're ready to poke around the people who are actually working, be it a person who drives the ambulance, be it the person who is there, be it the person who comes up to the home just to check, be it the person who takes the sample test or whatever it is, be it the person, the doctor, the nurse, whoever it is related to COVID. They're all like, it happens in my family, it happens in my place, it happens with me, my friends. And I today, after what you said, I guess I have this insight in me from now onwards, that not to actually scrutinize anyone, because there is that background story that there is. Like you said, you guys didn't eat most of the time, you guys didn't have anything to eat, you guys had to go to your hotels, not even your homes, back, and then eat something or then do something. It was a havoc for you guys as well, and we need to respect that, to be honest. And have huge respect for you guys, man, because seeing that kid and understanding the mental health about the whole situation, how that kid will be traumatized. You guys actually brought the ambulance inside and did the thing for the kid. That is a very big thing, to be honest. Not all the people understand that, and sometimes I believe they are also frustrated with so many different situations that they don't get this inside their mind. So presence of mind is also important. It's incredible what you guys did or are still doing. A lot of volunteers are there who are doing incredible job, not only for COVID right now, but in any other NGO when it comes to different NGOs who work for mental health, for for animals, for veganism, for so many things out there right now, and they're doing incredible job. But one thing that I never understood when it comes to volunteering is the mindset of a volunteer. What should that be? As according to me, a lot of people, as according to me, in the sense, like if I have seen volunteers work around me, the friends I have or anyone, they have this greediness somewhere that they need that certificate. Even I used to have this when I first volunteered in my life. But afterwards, I understood that this volunteering work is just for the cause. It's not for something else. So what would you say about the mindset that people should have when they're volunteering?
Like you said that, it's the greed that people have, or maybe you had that greed at some point of time. But let me assure you that it's not the greed. It's, the human nature. It's the give and take policy that, the humans are taught right from the birth. Like you give something, you take something in back. Like छोटा से वही सीखते हैं, तुम दोगे तो मिलेगा, नहीं दोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा. So that is what, it's important. And again, when you grow up with the work also, it happens the same way, that you think, people usually, of course, even I think of it at some point of time when I'm volunteering or working for somebody, and I do it for free. Like there's no monetary exchange or there's no certificate that I'm getting. I also get demotivated, अरे कुछ मिल तो नहीं रहा है. Why am I doing this? How will I tell people, how will I put it in the CV? That's the most important thing. How will I put it in the CV that I did this work? There's no proof. And later on, I understand ki, people say ki there's no give and take in this. You just work, you don't get anything in return, you don't get money, you don't get certificate. But no, that is somewhere not true. You might not get certificate or money in return, but you are getting experience in return. You're getting to have your own learnings in return. You're getting to have your own observations. So keeping all this in mind and keeping the money factor or the certificate factor aside, and keeping, the first, initial things that I want to ask, request all the viewers that if you are planning on to volunteer, if you're volunteered, please keep in mind that even if you're not getting money or certificate in return, you're getting at least you focus more on the observations that you're making, the learnings that you're having, and the experience that you're gathering. It's going to help you in a different level. Maybe not immediately, but of course in the long run, in near future, it is going to help you. And I assure you that, because I have seen it practically happening with me.
Thank you so much for saying that. I believe a lot of people who have been willing to do different kinds of volunteer work, it will help them to understand about the situation. But when it comes to mental health, we'll get back to COVID situation again. When it comes to mental health, how was it affected? How did your mental health get affected during this time? How did you cope up, or what have you seen around your fellow volunteers, the people you know around who are still working? How have they been coping up? If you can give any hint or any idea about that, so that a lot of people understand that your mental health also get affected. How it's like every single human being is in this together. Even the person who takes the garbage in the morning, that person to the end of day when we sleep, till me, is everyone is actually into this together. So I just want to give them the idea about how you coped up with, or how other people who are volunteering are coping up with the mental health during this situation.
Like when you spoke about mental health, like how it affected us, like me or my fellow mates, I would like to say, our mental health got destroyed, got shattered in every manner that it could, because there was like a hell lot of things happening around us. People were dying, people were falling sick, like right in front of us. Like I could see somebody, there were many instances, like we go to pick up a patient, but the patient is already sick, the patient cannot walk properly, and on top of that, COVID. And our part of the work was to contact with the person, then connect with the hospital, then shift them, or do all that thing. And later on, we don't get to know anything about that patient. Like, is the patient back home, or is the patient still at the hospital, or is the patient doing well or not? We don't get to know anything about it. After we put that patient in the hospital or in the COVID care center, after that we have no idea what the patient is doing, or how is it happening. There were many instances where we go to pick the patient up, and of course, like how the family or the loved ones are concerned, and the family only gets to know us. The family does not get to know the hospital people, does not get to know any other worker. They only get to know the ones who are there, present with the patient at the particular moment when we are picking up the patient. There were many instances where they used to tell us, अच्छे से ध्यान रखना, look after our family member, we trust you, all our hopes are on you. And then we cannot tell them we will not know. After the patient gets up in the ambulance, we will not know what is going to happen. And most sad part is that we were using our own personal numbers, because the numbers which were provided from the government, those were like taken by somebody. Our team did not get a single number to use to contact with all the patients. We were using our personal numbers. Families were getting our numbers. After the patient has been picked up, रात को call करेंगे, because of course we cannot say कि हम लोग 24 hours work कर रहे हैं, हम लोग को odd hours पे don't call us in the odd hours. We cannot expect that, because they're also affected. Somebody whom they love or whom they care for is in the hospital and maybe in a critical condition. Of course, that tension is there. We have to keep that in mind also. But because of that, we cannot forget our own health, our own physical or mental health. There were many instances where the patient's family would call me at around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Some patients even called me at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Something is happening in the hospital, they'll call me, because the only contact number that they have is my contact number. Or something happens, they'll call me, and I have no answer to give. Like, there were many instances where we had to pick up old people, like 70 plus, 80 plus people. And there were many places when we went to pick up their loved ones, used to tell us one thing, like, kuch bhi ho, don't send the dead body back home. Dead body mat bhejna. And you're already working, you already have that fatigue in your head, you're already tired, you're already shattered what's happening around, by seeing what's happening around. And when somebody says that, I don't know about my fellow mates, I didn't know what to respond. When somebody says that, samne se, that, don't send a dead body back, like, I don't know how to respond to that. Smile karu ki I will explain something, or should I be numb? Or should I keep mum and not say anything and just be like a robot and work? I didn't know what to do. And the only thing I chose was that, just giving a smirk or something. I was like, huh? I'll be like doing the confusing look, giving it to them. And when such kind of incidents started happening with me, I started, facing such many problems that when I used to come back to the hotel and fall asleep, if my phone is ringing, may it be an unknown number, may it be somebody from the family who's calling me, may it be my friends, I cannot pick up the phones. I'll be like, I know the phone is ringing. I can of course see the name flashing, but I don't have the, the mental strength to pick up the call. There used to be times when I used to forget, what if it's the patient calling me? What if I get to know that somebody is dead? What if something is happening? What if the patient is not being treated well? All these things used to go inside my head and I used to freak out. I used to have horrible dreams and all that. Like hell lot of things were happening around and I didn't know how to cope up. Like even now, when I get to see, the death statistics, and it directly hits me to the, to the time and space where I was working and I could see deaths happening around me every day. Like we used to pick up patients and, after 2-3 days, we get to see the death list and the names used to be familiar to us. We'll be talking to each other. Arey, ye naam to suna tha. And I don't know about other people. I used to feel myself connected with each and every patient that I used to pick up. I used to remember who came with us, who did we pick up from where, who was acting in which manner, because I used to feel connected to them. I used to feel like ye mere family members ke jaise. I used to feel it that way. Like that is how I used to work like that. And I used to recall those names and I was like, wasn't this person that we picked up from that location, was he not very happy? There was one patient with whom we picked it up. We picked up from the Assam Police Reserve. He was a constable, I think. We picked him up and he was very happy. He had no other disease. He was like, he was telling his fellow mates also, main 2-3 din baad wapas aa jaunga. I'll be back in a few days. Don't cry. His fellow mates were crying. And we were very happy to see him, so positive and coming with us to the ambulance, walking along with us. I was like, wow, this is the positivity that we need. And after 2-3 days, I get to know that that person has died. I was like, how did this happen? Wasn't that person happy? That person didn't have any other disease. So, usko dekhne ke baad, like after seeing that person, when I used to go and pick up somebody who has liver damage, who is into dialysis, who has a cancer patient, un logo dekh ke I used to feel more scared. This person is going to the hospital. What if he doesn't come back? And what about the family? They saw my face. And I feel like I'll never be able to show this face to them ever again. Even if after Corona is over, what if I meet these people someday and how will I face them? Like, of course, it's unrealistic way of my overthinking also. But that is how, I was affected. Like, it was a hell lot of a journey, and like we stayed in the hotels, but it's like ghar pe, a person like me, I don't do household works, but it sounds well ki we were kept in a hotel, but of course it was just room mila tha. We just got the room. Everything we had to do it on our own. Garbage cleaning, room cleaning, everything, because we cannot even demand, because we are the hotspots. We can call ourselves hotspots of COVID because we don't know what's happening. And if people come and give us some service, it'll be like doing injustice to them. So we cannot be demanding to the hotel, ki garbage wala ko lao, ye lao, wo lao. We'll be like, no, it's okay. We'll do everything on our own. So again, like, that thing also, like parents, they video call me, they'll see me working. Of course, like dark circles, baal bikhre hue, because I have to take like 4 to 5 times bath a day. Because I come back to the hotel, I think ki work is done. I get a phone call. Half of middle of my bath and I'm like, okay, coming. I'll finish my shower, wear my clothes and go back to work. Coming back again I have to take a shower. So all that things keep on happening. Again, my parents are like, oh my God, you're doing all these things. Come back home. You don't have to work like that. What are you doing? This is not the life that you wanted. You will be doing a better life in the house. You get all the services. Like everywhere, it was, from every angle that I was getting, I used to get pissed all the time because I don't know what I'm dealing with. Am I dealing with the situation? Am I dealing with the people? Or am I dealing with myself? So there was a hell lot of dilemmas going inside. So this is how the whole scenario of my head was during the whole period.
Uh, I'm really sorry. I'll start with that because I hope it didn't trigger anything right now. But it can be traumatic to remember all those things that you have been through. As it comes, it should come with a trigger warning, and I'm so sorry that you had to repeat that thing to all our listeners and during this episode as well. I hope it didn't affect you that way, and kudos to you to be able to share those things and having the strength to go every day for the next 2 months. If it's the first day or second day, let's take it as the fifth day that you get to know that this person has died, and still having the capability to go for the next, I don't know how many days, like around say 55, 40 days that you went on and did the same thing again and again, coming back, doing your whole work on your own, helping each other out, whatever it was, and trying to sleep. Then you again have dreams, then again wake up, those calls, whatever it was. I mean, it's just that there should have been more resources during this period, I guess, at least during the second wave, as a lot of things had been seen during the first wave as well. It's not that the first wave was easy, that was the first wave. That was never easy for anyone. And the horrific situation that we are seeing right now during the second wave as well, it's so horrific. So I would really like to know, do you think that government could have worked more if right now we compare, as you have worked during the first phase and you have learned so many things on the ground level, how things were there, and we can give them the benefit of the doubt that no one was ready for this. But do you believe that during the second wave thing, they could have been ready for everything that has been going on right now?
For the first wave, I won't, really say that the government could have worked in a better manner or in a more effective manner. But now seeing the second wave, the conditions and all, I really feel that, the government could have done much better to handle with the situation this time, because I would say, experience teaches you.
Yeah.
But I feel so devastated to know that, the government did not learn anything, like from the first wave. Like, I don't know why, we could have dealt with the second wave in a much better manner. Like, it didn't happen, of course. Like, first wave was tough, obviously, because it was experimental for everybody.
Yes.
It was like a learning phase, I could say.
Yes.
And, to get something, you have to lose on to something. But this is the second wave. Of course, they could have learned from their mistakes which they were making last year. But, seeing, the condition in the TV only or maybe on the internet, I feel that, this time they have failed. I feel sorry to say that, government, I say, they have failed. And it's and it's not only the government actually, it's the people also. Like, first wave, say, people, in general, the citizens, the government, nobody learned anything. Like, it's really saddening to see this, because I somewhere feel, I feel like, I feel like, quarreling or, telling or slashing out at somebody, saying, you people will do some mistakes, not do the work properly, not learn from your mistakes. And for you people, the doctors, the nurses, the cremation workers, everybody suffers for that. And everybody cannot act selfish in that manner every time, no? Like, खाली खुद के बारे में सोचो, दूसरों के बारे में सोचो ही मत. But that is not how it works, right? We stay in an ecosystem. You're supposed to think for each other. If we don't do it, we don't deserve to be in a civilized society. We don't deserve to be in an environment then. Carelessness kills.
That's true. Like, we elected them. We were the ones who gave them the power to look after us, because we are the persons who believed in them to look after us. I mean, they had the power, they had the opportunity to work on so many things that we are lagging behind right now. We could have learned from Brazil, we could have learned from the US. US had the worst first wave, Brazil had the worst first wave, and we could all see how things were going on there. Black Lives Matter was important, yes, the movement was very important, but it happened, and there were a lot of cases back there. Because of the elections, there were a lot of cases. Everything was going on there, and that thing was repeated in India after having so many given examples. So I believe, yes, I agree with you that the government was lagging behind, and not only government, a lot of people didn't learn anything. till now people don't wear the mask nicely. Till now people don't understand how double masking can help, how sanitizers can help, what is COVID-19. Like, don't you think that lack of information is one thing that is being horrific? Because as we have seen, that news is something which is very dumb in our India, in our nation. And right now, independent news channels, independent news, news pages are coming out, and they are helping us, giving the right context and putting in bold what is actually there out there. So don't you think the lack of information is something that has actually demotivated a lot of people to understand COVID-19?
There's actually a lack of information also, and also there's denial to understand the information that is out to us. I mean, that is in front of our eyes. There's lack of information also, but there's denial also. Like, of course, there's lack of information. Like, it's somewhere I feel it's like this. I would like to say, do you remember the game, or listeners, do you remember the game that we used to play when we were kids? Chinese Whisper. ये किसी को कोई बोलता है, किसी को वो किसी को, and the last one gets the wrong information. And it's like, and such kind of things we cannot afford in a country like India, because our population is already so huge. And if we happen to play the Chinese Whisper game like this and not put everything properly, like ऐसे कान बोलने से थोड़ी होगा. You have to put it out to the mass properly and in a proper manner, so that everybody understands it. Because we have uneducated people, we have educated people, we have underprivileged people, we have privileged, less privileged, we have people from every category in our country. So the information that is available to us should be in a form that which is understandable, or it's graspable by everybody.
Everyone, yes.
Exactly. Like, नहीं तो Chinese Whisper जैसा ही तो होगा, and end में जाके कुछ और. Like, very recently I came across, I mean, my dad told me like an incident, not incident, like an incident that happened with him. He stays in Gwalpara, it's a district. So there he stays, and that he went to the market to buy something very essential, I guess. So he was maintaining the distance. In the shop, he could see too many people, so he was waiting inside the car. So there was this lady who was outside the car, and he knows that lady. And the lady saw him. She came towards my dad and she started talking, and my dad is like, "Where is your mask?" And you know what did she reply? I mean, it was amid this second wave. I mean, first wave to so kuch सीखा नहीं, second wave में भी गया गुजरा. So it's like, when my dad asked, "Where is your mask?" and she questioned my dad, back. He's like, "Why are you? I don't have my mask. Why are you with the mask?" It's like, "Chill, there's no COVID." And he's like, "What? I'm wearing double mask and you're not even wearing one, and you're actually going around and saying there's no COVID." And she's like, "This is all natak, there's no COVID." My dad is like, "Please go home and please be safe." And he didn't know what else to say. There's like, again, the Chinese Whisper, no? You said something, and then the last one is she who guessed it. COVID is nakli. There's no COVID. So it's somewhat like that. Like, wrong information, not enough information. I mean,
a lot of information.
Yes, a lot of information. Too much is always bad. So I don't know what is happening with us.
We are just 23, 24-year-old kids who are discussing this, and there are people who have been discussing as cow urine to be the cure of it. There are people who are discussing to let temples be there and praying will help. COVID is, as you said, COVID is not true. People are making it a hoax. Whatever it is, how can people not understand that how serious this is? Pandemic is something that has happened to India pehle bhi, and it has been hit in such a worse condition. Like around 200,000 people died that time in just the second or third wave. It was just the time there. Us time to chalo, we didn't have that much facility, and right now we have that facility. जिससे जो चीज सीखना चाहिए, we are not learning from. Like, let's take the example of New Zealand. We could have learned so many things from New Zealand, but we didn't. We could have learned from US as well somewhere during the elections when they did. Like, there are so many things to learn from different countries, but we don't, because India is a country who's always believing कि सब कोई पाकिस्तान से related है, and nothing is there. Pakistan and China, those are the things that we are against. बाकी सारा दुनिया भी उनके साथ ही, they are there and everything. Literally, the like I did a talk, like I had a talk with someone a few days back. They told me that during volunteering, they are a mental health organization, okay, NGO. So during volunteering, they were talking to someone and they asked कि आप हमारे साथ board करोगे क्या, like on board होगे क्या? She was a teacher and they wanted them to teach in the underprivileged areas and all that. So she was like कि नहीं, मुझे आप पे believe नहीं हो रहा because I think that you would the money would be funding Pakistani terrorists to attack on India. I was like, these are children. These are actually people who are adults who are around 19 to 20-year-old, talking to you nicely, know your address, giving you the information about the NGO and everything. How would they fund Pakistan to actually do something about terrorism or something like that? It's like, that's what, more information, less information, whatever it is, people don't actually have the idea of acceptance. That's one thing. And तब कोई intolerant ज़्यादा होके they are not tolerant about things, because this is something they need to understand and sit inside the family as well कि सही information आना ज़रूरी है. I see my parents का WhatsApp groups and everything, there is rubbish about COVID. There is rubbish information that is spreading and they don't even check. खाली ऊपर का headline पढ़ लेता है and they are done. And when we open it, start होता है वो article with fake news ... and then it continues. And even then they don't get the idea that this is a fake news that people are spreading. और उसके कारण कितना anxiousness, कितना people are scared, how many stories are being spread around. There are so many things. I get vulnerable about thinking these things because, and I believe you would too, because you have worked in that situation. I after knowing your story, Hanshika, I have known you from school. There was a time gap that we didn't connect that much. I knew that you were working as a volunteer in different organizations at that moment in 11, 12. I saw you as a person who was very interactive, who was very happy. Like anyone who would be seeing you right now, I believe they will say that you're a very jolly person and everything. Yes, you are, but you also have a different side where you also get hurt. You also have a mental health. I really can't understand how people cope up with this situation. That's why I wanted to talk to you, because you have seen the ground reality of what's going on during the first phase. And second phase तो अब सब कुछ दिख ही रहा है कि how horrific it is. So I won't get into the emotions that much, but the next question that I want to ask you is, what kind of advice would you give to anyone who would like to do any kind of volunteering, not in their life, but at least this time, right now? If it's COVID related, if it's a frontline worker thing, if it's something related to blood donation, plasma donation, helping people around during as a volunteer to get beds, oxygen, or helping animals, helping anything, any sort of volunteer work, what would you give an advice? Advice is advice, whatever it is.
This is not an advice. It's like, yeah, maybe you can call it an advice. If any one of you who's been listening, if any one of you want to volunteer, ask yourself one question, or maybe two questions. First question is, do you really want to volunteer? Because you need to have the passion to volunteer. It's not like, you want to show it to yourself or anybody, or I don't know for what reasons. When you're doing something, do it with a full-heartedly, or wholeheartedly do it. It's not like you got into some blood donation, like the plasma donation or anything, you're into the group and all that, because your inactiveness will affect the whole group. Because you might be assigned some work and somebody must be into doing some another work, but the work you are assigned, if you don't do it wholeheartedly, or if you come up with a false report, like I've seen, like people are like, "Kaam karte hai, ye report hai," but turns out to be it's a false report, and you're like, gone. वो जो time उसको दिया था, वो time useless. You have to do the work again. And if you don't do the time in हड़बड़ी में, you happen to publish that report only, and that report again goes into misinformation, sounds like that. So it's the first thing you got to ask yourself: you want to volunteer, like you really want to volunteer or not? And the next is, look for the cause that you're volunteering. Look for for the goal that you're volunteering for. If that goal suffices your goal, Like your goal has to be, you need to feel connected to the goal, or you need to feel connected to the, the outcome of the whole volunteering process. If you're volunteering for the COVID thing, maybe online, maybe offline, you need to be, with the you need to keep the thing factor in the mind, do you actually want to work for that particular cause or not? Like if you don't feel connected to the cause, again, don't volunteer. Like when I volunteered for the COVID, like of course I kept in mind that the ultimate goal of the whole that surveillance team was to break the chain. We used to call it break the chain. Our team was only meant to break the chain. We'll be like conducting hundreds of tests in a day, picking up patients, like you go here, you go there. Even the ambulance drivers, we used to feel so sad for them because they used to wear the PPE kit, and it was summers, no? It used to be very difficult for them to wear the PPE kit from morning till evening. We used to feel sad for them because we will be like, ek do patient ke baad, we'll be like, send the patient to the hospital and you change and come. You can, rest after that. But when the situation kept on, this was happening in the initial days. But towards the, when initially the cases started increasing, deaths started increasing, I don't know how educated or till where these people must have got the education and all that. I would not say that. Like they must have not got a theoretical education, but they very intellectual. They understood the gravity of the situation.
Yeah.
If I keep on wearing the PP kit for 10 hours, I'll be able to pick up 10 patients from different locations, and it'll save time also because there's less number of ambulances. The person goes, comes back, takes a hell lot of time. So if the whole route is fixed, there used to be instances. There was an instance, I was very tensed. They were like 9 to 10 patients, we had to pick them up, and I was very tensed with the route because I was like, yahan se itne patient, wahan se itna. I'll be like, I have to send this ambulance back. I have to call another ambulance. This ambulance is busy with that because areas are assigned to the ambulances, no? So I was very tense. And the ambulance driver was looking at me, and I was like, do you need something? He's like, are you crazy? And I was like, why? He's like, why do you overthink so much? And I was like, what did I do? And he's like, am I complaining? I was like, no, you're not complaining. But he's like, so I'm not complaining. Your work is to decide on the route. My work is to pick up the patients. I say yes, and you make the route. And I was like, oh my God. It's like he's also dedicated to the cause. That he also understood the factor well enough that we need to break the chain. So 2 things are very important. That's the only advice. Keep these 2 factors in mind, that you really want to volunteer or not, and the cause that you're volunteering for suffices your own personal goal or not. If you keep these 2 things in mind, I don't know, I do that, and I feel happy. I feel, I feel satisfied by doing whatever I'm doing. Maybe I'm not able to do something very big, or not able to make like a huge impact, but wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I feel sufficient.
It was like those 2 advices are actually very important, I believe. To someone like me, if you are giving some advice to anyone out there, and I'm also listening to you right now, I believe yes, someone has to be very passionate about what the cause at first, whether it's blood donation, whether it's COVID, whether it's anything that they are ready to do for free. That's that cause inside their head कि हाँ वो passion है to help anyone out there regarding this cause. That is one thing that which is very important. And the first thing that you said कि हाँ तुम कर सकता है नहीं, because your impact will be there, and that impact will cause a great impact. It can be a bad one, it can be a good one. It depends on you how interested and into it you are. So those are very good and great advices, Hanshika. Thank you so much for that. The last question that I have for you, and I've been asking all the people who are coming for this, season in my podcast, I would really like to know what kind of differences have you seen as a volunteer, I would believe, not only for the COVID situation, but others as well. What kind of differences have you seen in the Hanshika that you are today and the first volunteering program that you joined? Difference between those two.
The difference there are a lot many differences. Like the first Hansika getting into social work and the Hansika right now, there's a hell lot of a difference. Like I've seen myself growing. I've seen myself, the passion was there, but I've seen the passion, like I'm inculcating the passion into me more and more as the days are passing. It's like I am more clear about my passion now. I'm more clear about my ethics now. Now I know what I want and what I don't. And if my ethics are somewhere being compromised, may it be anybody who's making me compromise on my ethics. I don't know if it's good or bad. That person literally vanish. I make that person vanish from my life. Like it's of course, like, I don't know, my parents, they have made me they also make me question my ethics for a lot many times. And there has been few goals inside my head, or few that I've taken up some few small term goals. For that, like I've actually it's like the how we say, like I've sacrificed them also, because I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to do. In the process, if I'm losing something which does not suffice me as a whole, because whatever I do, what I'm doing all together is Hansika today. So if nothing gets into this fact, the things to go out, because I know where my goal is. I know what I need to do. And like the first Hansika who got into the social work, I used to be like, we were from the same school, we know how the dip sites are like. I was also like, oof, this is like that, oof, that is like that, I can't do this, I need to do this, I need to do that. Oh my, I was also like that. Like first of all, I was like a very brand conscious person. And like, if I'm doing this, I want this. I'm like, oh my god, this and that. Like gari chahiye, I need a car and that, because I didn't see the real life till the time I was in school. The moment I came out of the school, I saw the real life and I was like, oh my god, what was I living? This is the real life. This is the reality. And now I am like, when I see somebody doing the same thing which I used to do, I feel like it's my project now to change that person into me. It's like it becomes like a hell lot of a project for me. I see somebody, I'm like, oh, this person is like me, like the previous Hansika. No, this person needs to become like the present Hansika anyhow. And if person does not, I don't know that person again. I'm like, please, you don't deserve to be in contact with me.
I totally agree with you when you said that you remove those people in your life who question your ethics, who make you question your principles, your ethics, what you believe in. And I have been doing this since the last few months, I believe, and I totally relate to you here, because that is very important. It's like, I won't say purification, I hate this word to be honest, but somewhere it's really cleansing, to be honest. It helps you understand yourself better and what you want in real life, what you believe in, what is the thing that you want to do in life, what is the change you want to bring around you, inside you. You understand those things better because of your ethics or principles. And someone questioning those, someone making you question those, like if I would like to give an example. If someone just tells me कि इससे कुछ होगा नहीं, तुम कुछ भी कर लो, this won't change ever, and I'm like, I'm not trying to bring that change directly, but I just want to try to make people talk about that. At least वहाँ कहीं ना कहीं वो understanding, even though they don't understand about it, they would research. कहीं ना कहीं आएगा कभी ना कभी माथा में कि yes, I want to see this, कि Google में क्या मतलब है इस चीज़ का. I want to get along with it and see इस चीज़ से क्या हो सकता है क्या नहीं. Let for example take misogyny. I didn't know about misogyny at all. When I started talking about my podcast and different things, I got the idea during the last lockdown. Yes, this is something that is very bad towards women. It's something very negative that shouldn't be in this society at all. But we are living in the patriarchal society. I got to know the meaning of patriarchy then. It's very late for a person to be understanding these things, but I'm very happy I did. And that is where I believe today that people have to have those understanding whenever they talk about something. I'm very cautious right now. when I like a few days back when I was talking to someone through video call, there were a lot of people on WhatsApp video call, and we were just talking, and they were talking about someone getting married, and I was like कि पहला वाला thought I should say the sorry already, but I am very sorry about this, but the first thought that I have in my mind कि वो जो नाटा था वो वाला लड़की वो, then I said something else. I said, oh, that girl, that who was in our class, wo. I didn't actually adjectify or objectify that person. Rather, I took the name and tried to connect somewhere else. So, wo consciousness jo aa gaya na, that is very important. It comes through your ethics and principles, not because someone questions them and you change it over time, all the time. And to be honest, it takes a lot of guts to even question when it comes to our parents, because some people are very connected to their parents, very connected to their family. No offense to them, but sometimes you need to understand that they can be wrong as well. They're not always right. You need to take that stand for yourself, and I have been doing that, and they get pissed off, but someday they understand why I'm doing that, and whatever I'm doing, it's something that I believe in. It's not that I don't believe in what they think, but I'm not someone ki I will force my beliefs in you. So they can't do that to me as well. That's what I'm trying to say here. So thank you so much, Hanshika, for the whole conversation and the last part as well, where you talked about the principles. I believe that it's not only volunteering or COVID that we talked about, but a lot of things. And I'm very happy with the whole episode, to be honest. I'm really happy with how the content is going to be. So thank you so much for your insights. Thank you for being in this episode. Thank you for thank you for what you did and what you are still doing through whatever knowledge you're trying to spread and everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all your questions. Actually, like, your questions made me go back to the time like where I started, what I'm doing, what everything just flashes back inside my head. Maybe a positive memory or maybe a sad memory or something, but everything mixes up and gives me the whole experience and what I am today, right? Like, when you're asking me all these questions I'm going through, I again, like, it's like a moment for me now where I feel proud of myself. Because this whole episode, I've felt proud about myself all over again. And thanks to you for making me feel that.
I am very happy that we feel that way, and I'm very happy that we could connect after leaving school, and we could see such a difference I guess I could see such a difference in me as well while talking to you, and you could see that for yourself. It's a reflection for ourselves and also for each other. So it was very interesting and amazing for me today. So thank you so much for doing this.
So guys, if you enjoyed this episode, do not forget to like and comment. Do share this episode with as many people as you can. And before you go, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for staying tuned. Next episode, next Saturday.